You can walk through the grandest stores, live in the finest cities, hold the latest objects of the world in your hands, and yet remain poor in consciousness. And just the same, a man with nothing but the quiet conviction of inner abundance can transform his world entirely without lifting a finger. The great illusion is that money alone creates experience. But the deeper truth is this: state creates money. State creates experience. State creates the reflection you call reality. What most call spending is often not creation but compensation. It is the attempt to purchase a feeling they have not yet assumed. They buy the crystal and call it manifestation. They sign up for the course and call it breakthrough. They take the photo in the retreat center and call it awakening. But the law does not respond to symbols. It responds to substance. And the only substance that creates is feeling, the inner conviction that you already are what you desire to be. The man who seeks peace cannot buy enough candles to calm the storm within. The woman who fears lack cannot stockpile enough to create security. Every act of hoarding, every dollar spent out of fear, anxiety, or comparison is not a path to abundance. It is an echo of the very state they seek to escape. Until you feel different, you may wear new clothes, stand in new places, carry new labels. But if you have not changed your assumption, you will meet the same results wearing a different mask. True transformation comes not by purchase, but by presence. It comes when a man dares to stand in his own imagination and claim, I am. Not I will be, not someday, not after I fix this or buy that, but now. In that moment, the thing you are chasing is no longer outside of you. You possess it, and the world, being a faithful mirror, must eventually reflect that possession. No tool, no object, no app or affirmation has power of its own. All things receive their power from you, the one who assumes, the one who believes, the one who creates. If you believe the $5,000 0 cents mastermind will change your life, it is not the course that works, but your belief. And if you assume failure, even the wisest teacher will offer you nothing but more confusion. So before you spend, ask, what state am I in? Am I buying from fullness or from fear? Am I acquiring from joy or escaping a sense of not being enough? The law is never mark. What you spend from, you receive more of. Spend from love, and love expands. Spend from abundance, and it returns pressed down and overflowing. Spend from lack, and the hole widens. You must assume first, and then allow the outer to rise and match. This is the key. If you assume wealth, you do not need to prove it with possessions. If you assume peace, you do not need to silence the world around you. You become the cause, you become the source. And from that place, the money you spend becomes an extension of your joy, not a substitute for it. The world is full of people trying to buy what they refuse to assume. But no matter how loud the advertisement, no matter how shiny the offer, only your inner state determines your results. No one else is responsible for it. No market, no price tag, no product. You are the operant power. And when you live from that knowing, you find that you need far less to feel full, and yet more is given to you because you no longer depend on it. You have already become it. So let the world chase. Let others consume. You go within and claim, not someday, now. Not from need, from knowing. Because when you know who you are, the question is never what to buy. The only question is, what will you assume next? True wealth begins with the assumption of abundance, not the pursuit of outer symbols. There is a vast difference between acquiring money and living in the consciousness of wealth. One is the collection of symbols. The other is the embodiment of a state. Many believe that if they can accumulate enough signs of prosperity, fine clothing, expensive cars, lavish environments, they will finally feel wealthy. Yet, the great truth is that true wealth never begins with the things. It begins with the one who assumes the state of abundance within himself, long before a single dollar appears in the pocket or a single possession enters the home. To assume abundance is to recognize that wealth is not something to be gained, but something to be awakened. You are not poor because of your bank balance. You are poor because of the belief you hold about yourself in relation to supply. The world is not withholding from you. You are withholding from yourself by clinging to the belief that something external must occur before you can feel full, free, and secure. That belief is the very wall between you and the manifestation of abundance. You cannot serve two states. You either live in the assumption of abundance or in the assumption of lack. You either believe the supply is within you, or you believe it is somewhere else, waiting to be earned, chased, or deserved. But all things, money, opportunity, support, are drawn not to the body, not to the effort, but to the state of consciousness. And the state of consciousness is chosen by assumption, not circumstance. There are those who have much and still feel lack. There are those with little who walk in the serene knowing that all they need will appear. The difference lies not in their possessions, but in their position within. One sees wealth as fragile, easily lost and built on striving. The other sees wealth as natural, inevitable, and ever unfolding from the unseen to the seen. What matters is never how much, but from where. To assume abundance is not to pretend or deceive yourself. It is to identify with the truth that you are already the source. It is to say silently but firmly, I am provided for. Not because the evidence confirms it, but because the feeling of that truth wells up within and becomes more real than any current condition. You do not wait for your world to change so you can feel secure. You feel secure, and so the world must change. As you learned this for the first time, as you saw things fresher, warmer, you feel secure, and so the world must change. Every act of chasing money without assuming abundance is an act of fear. It is the cry of someone who does not yet know they are the operant power. When a man spends to impress others, he declares his poverty. When a woman buys to fill an inner void, she declares her emptiness. No matter how glossy the result, the state remains unchanged, and the world must continue to reflect it until she chooses differently. Symbols of wealth without the feeling of wealth are meaningless. They are shells. They are attempts to copy the outer image without first embodying the inner cause. If you assume the state of abundance, those symbols may come, but they are not required for you to feel the joy, the peace, the ease of wealth. You feel those qualities now, and because you feel them, your world begins to arrange itself accordingly. You have no obligation to chase, impress, or overexert. Your only task is to choose your state. This is the one freedom that no one can take from you. You can be behind on rent and still assume abundance. You can be walking to work and still carry yourself in the consciousness of opulence. The assumption is not delusion, it is creation. And creation does not wait for conditions to approve. It moves in silence, and its work is made visible in time. If you want to know your true state, do not look at your current finances. Look at the tone of your inner conversations. Listen to what you say to yourself when no one is watching. Do you imagine being supported or abandoned? Do you expect increase or decline? Do you believe money comes easily and often, or that it is always a struggle to attain? These silent beliefs are the causes, and your outer world, the bills, the income, the opportunities, are the effects. You must dare to shift, not by force, but by feeling. Imagine yourself in a world where all things are given freely, where your desires are not rationed, where the source is never dry, and then assume that this world is yours now. Walk in that mood. Let that feeling saturate your daily routine. And though the facts may remain unchanged for a moment, the vibration has already moved, and all things will respond. You may not know how it will come. That is not your task. Your only responsibility is to live in the assumption of already having. Money is not the source, it is the shadow. The source is you and the state you choose to embody. Assume wealth, and wealth must appear, not as magic, but as law, not as a reward, but as a reflection of who you have chosen to be. And when you truly understand this, you will know you already are the supply. Every dollar spent from fear reflects a deeper belief in lack. Money is not what it appears to be. It is not paper, coin, or balance. It is the physical echo of an invisible truth, the outpicturing of one's state of consciousness. And each time you spend, you reveal not merely your preferences, but your assumptions. A man's wallet is not the source of his wealth. His state is. And if he spends from a place of fear, no matter how much he possesses, he will always be operating from lack. That lack is not in the bank, it is in the belief. It is in the inner whisper that says there is not enough. To the one who understands the law, money is neutral. It is neither good nor bad. It simply flows toward assumption. It serves the mood of the one who holds it. If you believe yourself to be secure, money becomes an agent of peace. If you believe yourself to be threatened, it becomes a fleeting protector that is never quite enough. It reflects the state, always and only the state, from which it is spent. When you spend from fear, you reinforce that fear. You give it life. You declare through action that lack is real, that provision is unstable, and that the future is to be defended against. This kind of spending becomes not a gesture of freedom, but a performance of survival. Every purchase becomes a confession of insecurity. It says, I must act now before it's too late. And so the cycle continues. The more one spends this way, the more one needs. The more one holds tightly, the more life slips through his grasp. But when you spend from a state of abundance, everything changes. The action may look the same, a bill paid, a gift given, a meal enjoyed, but the vibration beneath it is entirely different. The man who spends from abundance does not ask, will there be enough tomorrow? He knows that tomorrow reflects today's assumption, and today he assumes increase. He gives from knowing, not from fear. He purchases with peace, not panic. And that inner tone creates more wealth than any investment could promise. Examine your relationship with money and you will discover your relationship with yourself. Do you believe that your supply is limited and that every expense reduces your worth? Or do you believe that your supply is infinite, that money is a stream drawn from within, and that every act of giving affirms your ownership of it? You must choose, for both cannot live in the same mind. One must be master. Fear disguises itself well. It hides behind practicality, behind budgeting, behind caution, but you must look deeper. Are you managing your resources with wisdom or hoarding them from a sense of loss? Are you saving from foresight or from dread? Are you giving with love or out of obligation? It is not the action that matters. It is the feeling. The law responds to feeling, not logic. Some believe that fear protects them, that if they hold tightly enough, they will preserve their future. But what you hold in fear, you lose, and what you give in joy multiplies. This is not opinion, this is principle. That which is feared is attracted. That which is loved is sustained. So if you fear losing money, you have already set the conditions for its loss. And if you bless your money and let it flow freely from a place of fullness, you have invited more to return. Do not make the mistake of thinking wealth begins with what you have. It begins with what you are. And what you are is determined by what you accept as true of yourself. If you accept that you are always supported, always provided for, always sufficient, then even in temporary lack you will feel abundance. That feeling, if sustained, will reshape your world. The facts will bend, the supply will rise, the conditions will change. But only when the inner state has changed first. Spend deliberately, not out of compulsion or social pressure, but from identity. Before you act, return to your center and ask, from what state am I doing this? Not what am I buying, but who am I being? For you are not here to survive, you are here to express. And every dollar that leaves your hand speaks. It speaks of who you believe yourself to be. Let it speak from confidence. Let it speak from gratitude. Let it speak from joy. And remember, The outer always follows the inner. Money is never the master. It is the servant, and it serves the one who assumes rightly. So do not fear when you see it leave. Do not grasp or chase or mourn. Instead, return to the truth. I am abundant now, not because the world says so, but because you say so. That is enough. That is power. That is wealth in its purest form. You cannot purchase the feeling of fulfillment. It must be assumed inwardly first. The world is filled with people seeking something they already possess but have forgotten. They look outside, chasing the shadow of a feeling they have not yet claimed within. They search for peace in a spa, for love in another's approval, for joy in the marketplace, and for power in achievement. But nothing purchased can satisfy the soul that has not first assumed the feeling of its own fulfillment. The outer world is not the cause of your joy, your confidence, your success. It is only the mirror. It can reflect what you are, but it can never give you what you refuse to feel. Fulfillment is a state, not a reward. It is not something granted by external accomplishment. It is something you inhabit, and from that habitation, life reorganizes itself to reflect your assumption. Most live in reverse. They wait for the event to feel successful. They wait for the relationship to feel loved. They wait for the breakthrough to feel free. But the law is not delayed by appearances. The moment you feel the truth of what you desire and feel it deeply, you have planted the seed, and the harvest is inevitable. You may walk through the most luxurious store, live in the grandest house, wear the finest clothing, but if the feeling of lack dominates your inner state, nothing will change. You will carry your unfulfilled self into new places, and life will continue to mirror your inner vacancy. The perfume may be expensive, but if you still believe yourself to be invisible, no scent can mask it. The room may be filled with applause, but if you carry the feeling of unworthiness, the sound will feel hollow. It is not what you have that makes you rich, but what you believe yourself to be. To assume fulfillment is not to pretend or lie to yourself. It is to remember. It is to lift your gaze above the world of evidence and return to the truth that what you feel yourself to be is what you are becoming. The process is not one of earning or chasing, but of accepting and embodying. A man can buy symbols of success, but still feel like a failure. Another may possess little by the world's measure, but live in quiet, unwavering certainty of his power, and life will rise to meet him. Why? Because one seeks fulfillment through accumulation, the other through assumption. And assumption, when held faithfully, always manifests. This is not to say the world and its gifts are unworthy. You are not to reject beauty, prosperity, or experience, but you are to understand their source. They are not the bringers of fulfillment. They are the reflections of it. When you assume peace, the world calms. When you assume worth, the world responds with opportunity. When you assume love, the people and places that match that love will appear. But it must begin within. Always within. If you feel poor, you can win the lottery and still lose it all. If you feel unloved, you can marry the perfect partner and still feel alone. If you feel powerless, you can gain status and still be ruled by fear. But change the feeling and you change the experience. Feel rich in spirit and wealth finds you. Feel deeply loved and the world rushes to prove it. Feel powerful and all things begin to bend to the will of your vision. The question is never, what do I need to buy to feel better? The true question is, what do I need to assume now? Do I dare feel free before the chains fall away? Do I dare feel secure before the solution appears? Do I dare feel joyful before the reason comes? That is the test, not of strength, but of faith. To believe in what is not yet seen and to live in the feeling of its truth, as though no evidence were needed. The world is full of products, paths, and promises, but none can substitute for the inner act of assuming the state desired. You may attend every seminar, read every book, own every tool, but if the feeling of fulfillment has not taken root within you, those things will remain lifeless. They will be shadows cast by an unclaimed light. To live fulfilled is to choose now, not tomorrow, not when the outer changes, but now. It is to walk through life not waiting for something to give you permission to be whole, but moving as though you already are. That is what draws all things to you. That is what shapes your reality. Not the possession, but the posture. Not the purchase, but the presence. Feel it first. Whatever you desire, success, peace, health, freedom, find its feeling and wear it. Let it become your natural state. Return to it often. Let it fill your conversations, your silence, your imagination, and soon the world will have no choice but to mirror what you have long accepted as real. This is the path of the Creator, the one who lives from within, who no longer waits to be given what he has already claimed, who does not need to spend to feel, but who spends only as an extension of the truth already assumed. He is not made rich by what he owns, but by what he is. And what he is, he has already decided and already felt within. The outer world is not the cause of your state. It is the mirror of your state. What you see with your eyes is not what causes your experience. It is what reveals it. The world you observe around you, the people who play their roles, the conditions you find yourself in, the opportunities that come or go, all of it is a reflection of what you have accepted as true within yourself. The outer world has no authority of its own. It only mirrors the inner world. Your beliefs, your assumptions, your persistent inner conversations. Most people live in complete reversal of this truth. They look at their environment and say, "This is why I feel this way." They point to their bank account and declare it the reason for their anxiety. They look at their relationships and claim that is why they feel unloved. They examine the past and use it to justify their hopelessness. But in doing so, they place the cause of life in the effect and become prisoners of their own reflection. You must understand this. Nothing happens on the outside that was not first accepted on the inside. No condition arrives that was not in some way permitted by your inner state. Not always deliberately, not always consciously, but always faithfully. You may not have wanted the experience, but somewhere within, you assumed it, you believed it, you felt it. And so it arrived. The mirror does not create, it reflects. If you smile, it smiles. If you frown, it frowns. But it does not initiate. To change the image in the mirror, you must change your expression, not beg the mirror to do so. And so it is with life. If you want your world to change, do not attempt to rearrange the shadows. Change your inner state. Assume a new truth about yourself. And as you persist in that new assumption, the world will shift to mirror it. You can change your circumstances by force, by effort, by manipulation. But if you do not change your inner state, the old conditions will reappear in new forms. You may escape a job, but find the same dissatisfaction in the next. You may leave a relationship only to repeat the same wounds with another. The scenery changes, but the pattern remains, because the state has not changed. But when you change your state, the outer must obey. It may not happen instantly, for the mirror sometimes lags behind the movement. But move it will. It has no will of its own. The outer world is clay, and your consciousness is the sculptor. Do not ask the clay to change itself. Assume the new form within, and let the world reflect your creation. You are not what the world says you are. You are what you accept as true of yourself. If you believe you are unlucky, unloved, unworthy, the world will echo back that song. If you believe you are chosen, favored, abundant, the world will take that script and play it faithfully. The players will come and go, but they will each wear the mask your state has prepared for them. Every state of consciousness has its own conditions. When you assume the state of being confident, Life will present you with reasons to feel confident. When you live in the state of being feared, life will produce conflict to justify it. It is not personal, it is principled. The world is not plotting against you, it is simply responding to you, not to your words, not to your wishes, but to your being. Your work then is not to fix the world. Your work is to identify the state you are living from and to ask yourself, does this state align with what I truly desire? If not, you must change it, not tomorrow, not when things improve, but now. Assume the state you wish to experience. Feel the truth of it. Saturate your thoughts, your imagination, your emotions with it. And the outer world will follow, not because you chased it, but because you became it. It is not a matter of time. It is a matter of alignment. When you shift your state, time becomes irrelevant. For in that new state, what you once waited for becomes your reality. What you once hoped for becomes your identity. And life, in its unfailing devotion, brings forth the reflection that matches your new tone. Never fear the facts. Never curse the mirror. If you do not like what is shown to you, rejoice, for you have found the place of correction, not in the outer, but within. Every moment offers you this power. You can select a new state at any time, and once you inhabit it, the reflection must change. This is the mystery of transformation. This is the law of life. The outer is never the cause, it is the mirror, the stage, the echo. The real power is in the invisible world of consciousness, and that power, your awareness of being, holds within it every condition, every character, every outcome you will ever know. Choose your state, persist in it, live from it, and let the world prove again and again that it is only ever showing you yourself.